The World Cup is always the stage where the biggest stars step into the spotlight. But the interesting thing is that not every player performing brilliantly in the Premier League this season will be there this summer, even though it is the biggest tournament in world football. There are so many names with the quality, the ability to make a difference, and even the potential to become some of the standout players of the tournament. Yet in the end, they will be watching it from home. And when you piece them together into a full 11, that sense of regret becomes even clearer. From the goalkeeper all the way to the attack, this is genuinely a team that is far from ordinary. If you look at the Premier League players not going to the World Cup this summer, the name that feels the most painful has to be Donnarumma. Honestly, it is very hard to accept that a goalkeeper of this level will not be appearing at the biggest football festival on the planet. He is the kind of goalkeeper who gives you a sense of security just by standing in goal. Long reach, incredible close-range reflexes, and when it comes to performing in big matches, there is no question about it. Donnarumma is the kind of goalkeeper built for knockout moments. The disappointment is not only for him, but also for the fans, because the World Cup always needs iconic stars like this. A goalkeeper who has won the Euros and carried his team through so many huge European nights, now having to watch the World Cup from home just feels like something is missing emotionally. Ola Aina is one of those fullbacks who is underrated compared to his true value. If you only look at the name, many people might overlook him, but anyone who watches the Premier League closely will understand just how useful he is. Aina is not the flashy type of fullback, but he brings a very clear sense of balance to the system. Good pace, solid in duels, and especially difficult to beat in one-on-one situations out wide. What I really like about Aina is his toughness. He plays with composure and always seems to know how to position himself correctly. Nigeria not being at the World Cup means players like him lose the biggest stage to prove themselves on a global level. And honestly, the World Cup always needs players like Aina, not overly glamorous, but extremely important to how a team functions. A right back who is defensively solid, knows when to go forward and when to stay back, and can shut down dangerous wingers. That is the kind of value many national teams would dream of having. Joachim Andersen is exactly the kind of centre-back Premier League fans love because he has the look of a classic defender while still being very modern. Tall, strong in the air, excellent at reading the game, but what really stands out is his ability to build from the back. There are matches where you see Andersen ping long diagonal balls or play line-breaking passes, and it almost feels like you are watching a deep-lying midfielder rather than a centre-back. Denmark failing to qualify for the World Cup means a high-quality defender like him misses out on a huge stage. In World Cup matches, where the tactical battle is usually so intense, a centre-back like Andersen is incredibly valuable. He is not the emotional, all-action type, but rather someone who gives you stability, calmness, and very rarely makes mistakes. Even now, Denmark being out of the World Cup still feels shocking, even if the media has not talked about it enough, because they had a strong system in place, and at one point held so many advantages. On the left side of central defense, it has to be Calafiori, and he is probably the name many people feel most disappointed about in this back line. He is exactly the type of defender modern football is obsessed with. Tall, strong, technically gifted, and extremely comfortable on the ball. It feels like he is not just a centre-back, but also someone who can open up an entire build-up structure from deep. His ability to carry the ball forward, play progressive passes, and even step into attacking areas is seriously impressive. Italy missing out on the World Cup once again makes fans feel even more disappointed because he is exactly the kind of player you want to watch on the biggest stage. The World Cup is often where young centre-backs announce themselves to the world, and Calafiori clearly has that potential. He already had one major breakthrough at the Euros, and many expected him to make another huge leap this time. But unfortunately, Italy were eliminated. Kerkez is the kind of fullback who is just so enjoyable to watch. His energy seems endless, constantly going up and down the flank, playing with incredible intensity and passion. He is the type of player who makes you feel the emotion of the game simply through the way he throws himself into challenges. Kerkez has pace, strength, and above all, a boldness when pushing forward. He perfectly represents the modern Premier League fullback, not only a defender, but also a genuine attacking weapon. Hungary missing out on the World Cup means a player with this much energy and explosiveness does not get the chance to shine on the biggest stage. And honestly, that is a real shame, because players who play with this much emotion always make the World Cup more exciting. If we are talking about the players missing the World Cup that fans will regret the most in midfield, Tonali absolutely has to be near the very top of the list. He is the kind of midfielder whose value becomes even clearer the more you watch him. He is not the flashy type who creates highlights with fancy dribbles, but every touch and every phase of play just feels incredibly valuable. Tonali plays with real intelligence. He always seems to know exactly when to speed the game up, when to slow it down, and when to hit that wide pass that stretches the opposition's shape. What makes him special is how complete he is. He can tackle, recover possession, control the tempo, and even unleash dangerous shots from distance. In a tournament like the World Cup, a midfielder like Tonali is almost priceless. Italy's absence means fans are missing out on a central midfielder capable of controlling matches at the highest level. And honestly, the more you look at the midfields of some teams going this summer, the more you feel that sense of regret about Tonali not being there. On top of that, when talking about the disappointment in central midfield, Carlos Baleba is another name worth mentioning. Baleba brings something very different: power, ball-winning ability, and those explosive carries through midfield. He feels like exactly the kind of player who could have broken out as a major star at a World Cup, which makes his absence genuinely frustrating. Damsgaard is one of those names that instantly brings back a lot of emotion, especially for anyone who still remembers his breakout European Championship campaign. He is the kind of attacking midfielder who plays with an artistic touch. His first touch, the way he turns, the rhythm of his movement in tight spaces, and his ability to deliver the final pass all feel incredibly smooth and elegant. Damsgaard is not the traditional number 10 who simply stays central. He is far more fluid than that. He can drift inside, move wide, carry the ball forward, and create danger from situations that seem harmless at first glance. Denmark missing out on the World Cup means a player capable of creating real moments of magic loses the biggest stage possible. The World Cup always needs players who can create unforgettable moments, and Damsgaard is exactly that type of player. One long-range shot, one perfectly weighted through ball, or one set piece can completely change the direction of a match. Szoboszlai is the kind of midfielder who is simply a joy to watch. He has all the qualities of a modern midfield star: strong physical presence, outstanding stamina, solid technical quality, and above all, the ability to create something special through long-range shots and set pieces. There are moments when you watch Szoboszlai and it genuinely feels like he is the heartbeat of the entire team. From the way he carries the ball, to his pressing intensity, to the force and personality behind his transition passes, everything about him feels powerful and full of character. Hungary missing out on the World Cup is a huge disappointment because Szoboszlai feels like a player made for the biggest stages. He has the aura of a leader, the kind of player who can drag an entire team forward through sheer energy and personality. A World Cup without those thunderous strikes from outside the box already feels like it is missing something. And perhaps the biggest loss of all is that the tournament may be without what is arguably the best long-range free kick taker in the world right now. The more you watch Dorgu in the Premier League this season, the more you feel it is a real shame that he will not be on the World Cup stage. He is the kind of wide player who brings pure energy. The moment the ball is played out to the flank, you instantly feel like something is about to happen. What I love most about Dorgu is that very raw, instinctive feel to his game. Yet he is incredibly difficult for defenders to deal with. Good pace, long strides, those direct bursts into open space, and above all, an aggressive pressing mentality. In reality, Dorgu is an extremely important player for Denmark, capable of performing on both flanks and contributing both offensively and defensively. His injury was also part of the reason Denmark fell short in the playoff against Czechia. Denmark missing the World Cup means a highly explosive player like Dorgu loses the chance to step into the global spotlight. Honestly, the World Cup feels like the perfect tournament for a player like him, where one solo run or one transition moment is enough to make the world remember your name. Šeško is definitely one of the names fans will regret missing the most in attack. He is exactly the type of centre-forward modern football is obsessed with. Tall, quick, intelligent in his movement, and incredibly powerful in front of goal. Honestly, a striker like Šeško always feels perfect for the World Cup, because in big games, where matches are often tight and chances are limited, a forward who can create a goal almost out of nothing is incredibly valuable. The best thing about Šeško is that he is not just a classic number 9 waiting inside the box. He can drop deeper to link play, stretch defensive lines with his movement, and above all, put enormous physical pressure on centre-backs. Slovenia missing out means the World Cup loses one of the most exciting young strikers to watch. He genuinely feels like the kind of player who could use one explosive World Cup campaign to elevate himself into Europe's elite bracket. Mbeumo is one of the Premier League players I rate incredibly highly for his consistency. He may not be talked about as much as the stars from the Big Six, but if you look at his real impact, he is an extremely valuable player. Playing from the right, but capable of drifting inside, finishing well, carrying the ball confidently, and especially creating danger in one-on-one situations, Mbeumo is exactly the kind of player defenders hate facing. He can accelerate quickly while keeping the ball very tidy in tight spaces. Cameroon missing out on the World Cup is definitely a disappointment because he is the type of player who can produce unpredictable moments. A curling finish, a direct run cutting inside, or a decisive cross into the box, Mbeumo always gives you the feeling that he can make the difference at any moment. So to wrap it up, guys, goalkeeper, Gianluigi Donnarumma, fullbacks, Milos Kerkez on the left, Ola Aina on the right, centre-backs, Riccardo Calafiori and Joachim Andersen, double pivot, Sandro Tonali and Dominik Szoboszlai, attacking midfielder, Mikkel Damsgaard. Front three, Patrick Dorgu, Benjamin Šeško, and Bryan Mbeumo. Do you think this 11 is missing any other big names? Drop your thoughts in the comments.